Now to wrap up political parties' last push for votes ahead of Wednesday's general elections, I am now joined by Professor Mazwe Majola, a leadership analyst from Wits Business School. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on News at Prime. It's been a very busy day, whether it's the MK's Maibuye rally, you just heard in that bite as well that even their leader didn't show up. However, we've had the Siyanqoba rally, Jigizinto rally, Tela Tupa, and I think Action SA is also having a final rally this evening as well. What did you make? Let's start with the MK bite that we've just played right now, where you could even hear that Mosam Kizo is saying, we're hoping that Umsholozi will show up. We are hoping that he will be here. What does it say to us if their head of elections doesn't even know where their leader is and they leave their supporters with a no-show?
Yeah, good evening, Masa. Yeah, I think that is just showing the big weakness of uMkhonto of this soul, super soul leadership. Because you can't be everywhere you can't be everywhere at the same time. I saw in some of the schedules that he was supposed to speak at Cape Town or in Cape Town today, so I guess that is where he was. And then obviously I'm sure they had to continue with that one. I think tomorrow he should be somewhere in Mpumalanga. So you can see that, unfortunately, he is everywhere, and he's alone. I mean, you can't be everywhere, he's just alone. So that is the major weakness of the party, that they are just relying on this one leader that is just everything. He must be everywhere. But it was good for the organization now that at least there should be any event where he's not present, so that other leaders, they can take over. And people must get used that obviously there are other people other than Jacob Zuma.
To get away from this, what you're calling super soul leadership as well. When we look at these political party rallies as well, I mean, logistically, it might be a nightmare to plan, but these are people who are asking and wooing South Africans to say, vote for us to be in government, to run the country. Now, if you can't get something as simple as a rally in comparison to governing a country, right, how should South Africans have faith in you? The ANC Siyanqoba rally also kicked off very, very late as well. They couldn't even keep their supporters in the stadium for long enough for their president to finish their speech even. So if you can't get something that basic rights, how should we trust that you will be able to come back into government or into government and be able to govern properly?
Well, definitely it is an indictment on them, because a leader must walk the walk and must talk the talk. You say, I'm going to do this, and you do what you said you'll do. And then people tend to trust you when you say that. You become trustworthy because they know that when this leader said we'll do this, that happens. So, but I guess people will understand this. The last weekend before the election, the last, the last rallies. So many things would happen, and then people really, all leaders, wanted to put everything into it. It's a last kick of a dying horse.
Yeah.
It's a do or die. You fail today, it will be very difficult to convince people. So I wonder if they really have done justice in terms of convincing those undecided votes to say, look, vote for me or vote for us.
Yeah, because there is still a lot of talk about some people who are confused to say that they don't know who they're going to vote for. But interestingly, on this channel earlier, Ntando, while he was covering the Maibuye rally by the MK, he was speaking to one of their leadership, Mr. Reddy, who was saying, look, this wasn't actually a rally. It was supposed to be a meet and greet and trying to basically get out of the embarrassment of it not going the way that they had planned that it would go. But then he also said something quite interesting to say that, look, by the last weekend before we go and vote, most people in his view, have already made up their minds who are they going to vote for. So whether the rally started 6 hours later or not, if they have made up their mind that they're going to vote for a particular party, that is where we stand. What's your view, Prof, in terms of this voter confusion that's going on right now? Is it as big of a problem as we may think it is? Or is Mr. Reddy from the MK right, that most people have already decided who they're going to vote for?
No, it's still a scramble for votes. There are two categories. By now, there are those who have already made up their minds. I'll go for these ones. There are those ones still, I'm not yet. I will vote, but I'm not sure who I'm going to vote. So these leaders today and tomorrow, and even the few days remaining, their task is to make sure that they keep those who have decided to vote for them. To say that, no, don't look anywhere now. You said you would vote for us. So what they say, what they do, it must make sure that someone who said I would vote for Party A, that there mustn't be anything that will sway that person. The one who's still deciding, these leaders must make sure that they persuade that person, they must convince that person that we are the correct one to vote for. Don't look any further, please cash us. So it's a very, very important, few days, 4 or 5 days before, to go. They are very, very important. So there are those ones, one category, who would say, hey, who am I going to vote? Maybe better devil you know than the one that you don't know. In other words, maybe I might vote for those ones who have been there before. Yes, they've made mistakes, but at least I know them. The only challenge with that one is that if you say better devil, you know, the devil is still the devil. You know, it doesn't change the devil. Whether you know it or not, it's still the devil. And then there are those who will say, I'd rather try something new. You know, I'd rather put my vote on something new and see if these people will not give us something different from that one. So that's why I'm saying it's critical hours and days and minutes for leaders now that they cannot make any mistake, because we are correct. Any mistake can just change a voter. You know, the fact that there was confusion there in FNB, as someone who's very organized, you know, that people are very organized by nature. Someone who's very, very organized will be saying that, no, I can't vote for that party. Let me try someone else.
Speaking of trying someone else as well, Bosa had their Jigizinto rally today too. Its leader, Musi Maimane, was saying they have 120 candidates, and all of these 120 candidates are put there on merit, but also they'll be able to ensure a job in every household. But then he also said something quite interesting too, which I think he said while he was in the DA as well. And he said if Nelson Mandela was alive today and in these elections, he'd be voting for a new party like Bosa. What did you make of those sentiments?
Wow, that was a very good canvassing, but I doubt if Nelson Mandela will do that. Nelson Mandela said if when you go to heaven, you will look for the ANC branch in heaven. But yes, I think what he's saying probably is that if Nelson Mandela was here, he would have been very disappointed by his own party. You've seen many, many stalwarts from ANC who have left the ANC. Many, you know. Yes, we've seen some now who, emerged as trying to assist the ANC during the campaigning times. But many have lost confidence and trust in the organization, the way it's run. And then, so there are those ones. I think others who really, the strong ANC members and leaders, if they don't vote for ANC, they'll rather not vote for anyone. They'll rather abstain, you know. So that's when we're losing vote. So that's how other people are so strong about a certain organization. Say that this is my organization, but I'm so disappointed about it. I'll rather not vote anyone. I'll just sleep or go for holiday on Wednesday.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens comes these elections, because in previous years we saw that happening as well, where ANC supporters or ANC people who typically would have voted for the ANC rather chose to abstain and not vote at all. But now with so many new kids on the block, it'll be interesting to see if they have been able to sway them. Let's talk a little bit about the EFF. They held their Tela Tuba rally at the Peter Mokaba Stadium. And they prided themselves on, look, we didn't bus anyone in, as you know, which was obviously a criticism to the ANC's Siyangoba rally, who had bussed people in, as we heard from our reporter as well. There were protests outside of the FNB Stadium against the ANC as well. So when we look at the EFF saying, look, we didn't bus anyone in, and if we look at those visuals, they were, depending on where you're sitting, I know it does depend on where you're sitting, where it will be full. And if you're just looking at these visuals, it looks like they were able to somewhat fill up Peter Mokaba Stadium. But some of the things that he said as well, reiterating that they will increase social grants, saying that they will increase elderly social grants up to 4,000 rands, considering that most of communities where people are living in impoverished states, grannies are the ones who are raising their grandchildren. And so they would need more money, talking about the graduation grant, talking about no government worker will earn less than 10,000 rand. What did you make about some of the things that were mentioned by the EFF leader at this Tela Tuba rally?
I think, as I'm saying, that it was a last push. It was the last time the leaders to exhort their members, or rather people, to vote for us. So I think if I assess different leaders that spoke today, to me, I would say Julius probably came closer in terms of inspiration leadership, because today really, I don't think it was a day for them to read long written scripts, repeating what they said already. Of course, they would have just summarized there, but today it was a day of moving the people. You know, the day of saying why you should vote for us. Make someone who's sitting at home saying, I would like to vote. I would like to vote for those leaders. So, in terms of charisma and that inspiration, that vitality and energy, as they are moving the people, it's we are the one. And I think Julius tried to do that, came closer in terms of, obvious, he is a charismatic leader. Leaders are not the same. Others are not as charisma, but they're still good leaders. But as I'm saying that, really, I would have thought leaders would be able to move people with their speeches today to say that don't go anywhere. So, Julius, there are some quite ambitious targets there, the things that he was saying. And obviously, you know that politicians will say all sorts of things. It doesn't mean that really those things they will be implemented. It's just to say, don't vote for this. We can vote for us. As he was saying, that those who are still going for vote for criminals, is up to them. But vote for us because we are like this. I liked the way he said, when he personalized it, and he said, I've never betrayed anyone. I've never done this. I've never done this. I've done this. I've done this. When you are a leader, you are doing that. You are saying to someone who's listening to you, you are building that trust. Because remember that trust is a glue, is a foundation of leadership between a follower and a leader, or a voter. So someone wants a leader that can say, I want to trust you. Are you going to do what you say you will do? So it's very important that when someone says that, and then a person said, no, that's a credible leader and a trustworthy leader that I can go for.
It truly was about solidifying their messages in their last bit of the last 11th hour now, because, I mean, from Monday, the special votes will start as well. So we're already there. It's crunch time. Prof, thank you so much for joining us.